You are going to hear a rich variety of materials here today. Our intentions for this event, our agenda, is to help you to tap into this largely untapped talent pool. Our speakers will share with you the benefits of employing individuals with varied abilities and disabilities. And also you'll learn about the resources and incentives that are available through the partner organizations presenting today. I would now like to introduce Dr. Daryl Rader. In addition to serving as the director of the local Division of Rehabilitation Services Office, Dr. Rader is a member of Lake County's Workforce Development Board and contributes to the consortium responsible for operating the Job Center of Lake County. Dr. Rader, I will turn this over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Eva. Good morning, everyone, and I'm glad that we have so many participants on the call and participating. I am bringing you just the bit of information that covers the U.S. Department of Labor and their actual most recent information, or that covers actually the increase of hiring of those that have disabilities. Which impacts the works that we do over at the Waukegan and or Lake County coverage area for the Division of Rehabilitation for the state of Illinois. The increases that the U.S. Department of Labor has recorded includes a 41% increase in the years of 2023 and 2024 of those who were hired during that period of time at various agencies and corporations throughout the United States. And it actually shows that the hybrid and remote work modality is a very lucrative area in which our individuals who have disabilities are being hired at a record pace. The improved technology is really the matter by which, or mode by which, we have to blame for that, if I could use that term. And it's important to know that such improved technology is increasing, especially with customized accommodations that many of our companies that we reach out to hire those with disabilities are enacting. Those with disabilities have a host of uh, improved and better soft skills, according to this U.S. Department of Labor study that was completed. And it shows that our individuals have impeccable soft skills, and that there is an inclusive work policy increase for most of, if not all of, those agencies and corporations who are reaching out to them. For the first time ever, it's showing that also those with disabilities are part of the 23% workforce of Gen Zers, which is now considered the largest diverse group in the workforce. And just that alone tells you a lot about what direction we're trending in terms of hiring those with disabilities. I must say that I'm really glad to be a part of the process to assist with those through our counselors that we have on board and all of the other staff in Lake County Division of Rehab Services, as we continue to include those that have disabilities to stay on the employment grid. Definitely, especially under the current administration that we have in Washington, D.C. We're looking at DEI initiatives that are being reduced and or reconsidered. But with our actual work that we do, we're looking at how, again, the customized accommodations, the soft skills that our Gen Zers and our those that have been identified with disabilities have, and what they bring to the workforce during this period of increased hybrid remote work, where AI is new initiative that's being introduced, and it appears that those with disabilities are really grabbing hold of that and got a handle on it. And with that said, I'll handle the mic right back to Eva.
Very good. Thank you. We are passing this now to Gianni. Gianni Serrano serves also with the Division of Rehabilitation Services and has educated us so much about accommodations. So we're turning this over to you, Gianni.
Thank you, Eva. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gianni Serrano, and I'm a business employment consultant with the Division of Rehabilitation Services. If you are not familiar with the Division of Rehabilitation Services, or DRS, we are the state's lead agency serving individuals with disabilities. We use a dual customer approach to serve both persons with disabilities and employers. Some of the services we're able to offer are job seekers who have disabilities, our job placement services. We can offer training opportunities, education opportunities, job coaching, and access to assistive technologies. Some of the services we're able to offer employers include an opportunity to expand and diversify their workforce, access to tax credits and incentives, assisting with getting return to work employees back to work, access to experts on accommodations and technology, and access to disability awareness training. Basically, we work together with employers and our counselors to assist customers with direct placements into competitive and integrated employment. Now, what do I mean by competitive and integrated employment? By competitive, I mean making at least at minimum wage or above. And an integrated setting would be a work environment where people with disabilities and people without disabilities are working together in the same work environment. DRS provides solutions for the workforce needs of business customers while preparing talented and qualified job seekers with disabilities for their chosen careers. Next slide, please. So why hire a person with a disability? Some statistics on that. 1 in 5 people, 64 million in the US, identify as having a disability. Of the 64 million, 35% or 22 million are of prime working age, between the ages of 16 and 64. As of December 2024, the labor force participation rate for people with disabilities was only 24.7% compared to the rate for people without disabilities of 67.8%. So what does that mean? This is virtually an untapped labor market that employers can use as an opportunity for their workforce needs. Next slide, please. So at DRS, we like to stress that not all disabilities are visual. A very common assumption about people with disabilities is that it may be someone who uses a wheelchair or someone with a significant intellectual disability. However, people with disabilities can also have common hidden or invisible disabilities. These include a stroke, someone who has diabetes or heart disease, could be asthma or allergies, cancer, or maybe they're a cancer survivor, nervous system disorders, lung or respiratory issues. Maybe it could be an injury that was sustained from an accident, recovering from various addictions, arthritis, other musculoskeletal problems, or perhaps a mental disability such as depression or anxiety. Next slide, please. And so now we're going to talk about the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, or the ADA. The ADA is a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in everyday activities, including employment, state and local government programs and services, public transit systems, businesses and organizations open to the public, and telecommunications. According to the ADA, a person with a disability is a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, has a record of such impairment, or is regarded as having such an impairment. A qualified employee or applicant with a disability is an individual who, with or without reasonable accommodation, can perform the essential functions of the job in question. Per the ADA, a reasonable accommodation is an adjustment or modification provided by an employer to enable people with disabilities to enjoy equal employment opportunities. An employer is required to make a reasonable accommodation to the known disability of a qualified applicant or employee if it would not impose a quote and unquote undue hardship on the operation of the employer's business. That being said, accommodations vary depending upon the needs of the individual applicant or employee. Not all people with disabilities, or even all people with the same disability, will require the same accommodation. Next slide, please. Now we'll get into some assumptions versus facts. Assumption. Under the ADA, employers must give people with disabilities special privileges known as accommodations. Fact. Reasonable accommodations are intended to ensure that qualified individuals with disabilities have rights in employment equal, not superior, to those of individuals without disabilities. A reasonable accommodation is a modification to a job, work environment, or the way work is performed that allows the individual with the disability to apply for a job, perform the essential functions of the job, and enjoy equal access to benefits available to other individuals in the workplace. Assumption. Providing accommodations for people with disabilities is expensive. Fact. The majority of workers with disabilities do not need accommodations to perform their jobs. And for those who do, the cost is usually minimal. According to the Job Accommodation Network, a service from the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, 49% of accommodations cost absolutely nothing to implement, while the rest typically cost only $300. I do want to provide a correction. The more up-to-date as of 2024 percentage is actually 56%. So 56% of accommodations cost absolutely nothing to implement. Only about 7% of accommodations result in ongoing costs to the employer and have a median annual cost of about $3,750. Moreover, there are tax incentives available to help employers cover the cost of accommodations as well as modifications required to make their businesses accessible for people with disabilities. Assumption. The ADA places a financial burden on small businesses that cannot afford to make accommodations for individuals with disabilities. Fact. Businesses with fewer than 15 employees are not covered by the employment provisions of the ADA. Moreover, a covered employer does not have to provide a reasonable accommodation that would cause an undue hardship. Undue hardship is defined as an action requiring significant difficulty or expense when considered in light of factors such as an organization's size, financial resources, and the nature and structure of its operation. Assumption. Employees with disabilities have a higher absentee rate than employees without disabilities. Fact. Studies show that employees with disabilities are not absent any more than employees without disabilities. In fact, these studies show that on average, individuals with disabilities have better attendance rates than their non-disabled counterparts. Assumption. Individuals with disabilities are not reliable. Fact. Individuals with disabilities tend to remain on the job and to maintain better levels of attendance. A U.S. Chamber of Commerce study revealed that workers with disabilities had an 80% lower turnover rate. Assumption. People with disabilities are less productive than those without disabilities. Fact. Research consistently shows that people with disabilities want to work. Many people with disabilities feel that they need to work harder and perform better to prove themselves in their job role, resulting in productivity levels that are often higher. Next slide, please. And now we'll discuss some supports. So some additional supports that a job seeker or person with a disability may need include reserved parking spaces, alternative work schedules, extra breaks or leaves, being able to work from home, accessible materials, job coaches, modified communication methods, and specific tools or devices. Some examples I have here are if someone has seasonal affective disorder, also known as seasonal depression, there's something that can be purchased called a circadian optics Luxy lamp. And this is a lamp that basically mimics the sun. And you can see there, I have the price, and it's only about $50. If someone has problems picking up office supplies due to muscular dystrophy or maybe multiple sclerosis, something that can be purchased to help them pick objects up is the Weller vacuum pickup tool, and that costs $76. If someone has vision problems and for their job, they have to take measurements, we can purchase a talking tape measure, and that costs about $120. If someone has had a stroke, and let's say they work in a warehouse and their role involves them carrying boxes, sorting objects, things like that, the Cestus Palm Flex gloves can be purchased to help them carry these objects without dropping them, and those are roughly $16 per pair. Assistive technology is any item or piece of equipment that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. This can include augmentative or alternative communication, aids for daily living, computer access, and programs and software, hearing aids and alerting devices, home modifications, and environmental controls. I do like to stress, as I mentioned previously, according to the Job Accommodation Network, more than half, 56% of employers report that accommodations made cost absolutely nothing to implement, $0. However, when we do have those specific tools and devices, such as the ones I mentioned above, the Luxy lamp, the talking tape measure, when they do cost money, these are supports that DRS, our agency, can provide and pay for as long as the person or job seeker has a diagnosed medical condition, and that support will help them to be successful at their chosen vocation. Another great thing about us is not only do we assist someone who's already working with us, a job seeker, but we can also help an employee that may need these supports to retain their position. So not only do we help people obtain work, but we also help them retain work. And then here I have the link to the Job Accommodation Network, or JAN. I'm going to do a little mini demonstration, and I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see, maybe a thumbs up or something like that.
Looks good.
Okay, thank you. So this is the Job Accommodation Network. This is an amazing resource that's absolutely free. This is great for both employers and job seekers that are interested in working or providing an accommodation, but don't know where to start. And so what can JAN do for employers? Jan provides free and confidential consultation for employers of all sizes and types. This consultation includes practical guidance on workplace accommodation solutions, accommodation process strategies, and the employment provisions of the ADA and related legislation. While they cannot provide legal advice, they can provide information and resources from the federal agency that enforces Title I, which is the EEOC. And so, like I said, this is a great resource that is free for employers, and it's also a great resource for job seekers alike that are interested in working, but maybe want some more information on the specific accommodations that can be done based off their chosen careers. And so if you've never heard of Jan before, sorry, I'm just having some difficulties with the pop-ups here. So if you've never heard of Jan before, they are legit. They're not a, how can I say, like a random private organization. They are a service of the U.S. Department of Labor through the Office of Disability Employment Policy. So this is backed by the federal government. And okay, I'm just waiting for this Zoom feature to move. Maybe see if I move my screen. There we go. Okay. So one great thing about Jan that I really, really like is the A to Z list, which you'll see at the top here. You'll see options to view employers, individuals, ADA library, A to Z lists. So what's cool about the A to Z list is that employers or job seekers can review information on medical conditions and accommodations according to different fields. You can search by disability, by limitation, work-related function, topic, accommodation. I want to do a quick demonstration on something super common that some people might not even consider a disability, but under DRS policies, we would consider this a disability, and it's arthritis, because this is more common than one of the most common things, right? Everyone can get arthritis at one point in their life. So let's select that one. And so now you'll see information about arthritis, what it is, the diagnosis, how it can affect people, accommodating employees with arthritis, questions to consider, what limitations is the employee experiencing, how do these limitations affect the employee and the employee's job performance. It also talks about how employers can give accommodations to someone who may have arthritis in the workplace. Limiting lifting, reaching, pushing, pulling by job restructuring, maybe allowing extra time to complete paperwork. Let's say they use a computer, voice to text software. How awesome is that? Grip aids to help hold with a stylus. And I'm just going through the list here. Organizing items, reducing weight to be lifted by separating items into smaller groups. Ergonomic, adjustable office chairs. So there's plenty of different ways that are super inexpensive that an employer can accommodate someone with arthritis. You can also look up accommodation ideas by the limitation. Let's say if this person is having a limitation with balance because of their arthritis or whatever the condition might be, here are some of the things that can be solutions to provide that accommodation. Canes, crutches, scooters, stair assists, stair lifts, walkers. Let's see, fall protection, padded edging, protective eyewear. These are all things that can be super simple fixes, and you're at the same time, you're providing an accommodation for that employee to do their job effectively. So there's different options here that can be reviewed. Another really awesome thing here that I'll mention is how they also have situations and solutions. So in this sense, since we're talking about arthritis, we'll review this one. We'll review these very briefly. So it says a customer service representative has arthritis, had difficulty typing for long periods. This is a very common situation or scenario, right? The individual was accommodated with an ergonomic keyboard and tablet computer. Let's go to the next one. A library assistant was limited in her ability to stand for long periods due to arthritis. To assist her when standing, the employer purchased a stand lean stool. Let's review the other one. A laborer in a warehouse was having difficulty standing for long periods due to ankylosing spondylitis. I hope I said that right. As an accommodation, he was transferred to a position within the warehouse that allowed him the flexibility to stand, walk, and sit as he needed. The employer also purchased a heated cushion for his chair, gave him a stand lean stool, and provided him with a cart. Again, these can be super inexpensive things that can be solutions to accommodate these individuals. And also, with DRS, we can assist with paying for these things. The last thing I wanted to show with the Job Accommodation Network is the cost and benefits of accommodation. This is an article within the Job Accommodation Network website that discusses basically a survey that they did with employers that reached out to them for their assistance. And it took place from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023. And I won't go through all of it, but a lot of the findings is the basis and the information for at least my information within the presentation. And so this is really good information. If you're interested in learning more, it is here. And so I just kind of wanted to browse through it because I've mentioned certain things within the presentation and I will be referring to it still. So yes, we'll definitely include that information in the chat. And I, can't recommend this website and this resource enough to both employers and individuals with disabilities. Okay, I'll stop sharing. And I'll just wait for the presentation to come back up. Thank you. We can go over to the next slide. We can go to the next one also. Thank you. Okay. And so let's talk about some of the employer incentives when it comes to disability employment. So we have the small business tax credit. This is the IRS code section 44, disabled access credit. This is a non-refundable credit for small businesses that have expenses for providing access to people with disabilities. An eligible small business is one that earned $1 million or less or had no more than 30 full-time employees in the previous year. The small businesses claim the 50% credit each year, up to $5,000 of credit annually for eligible access expenditures. Eligible access expenditures include the cost of sign language interpreters, readers, materials in alternative formats such as Braille or large print, the purchase of adaptive equipment, the modification of existing equipment, or the removal of architectural barriers. We also have the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC, and this is available to employers who hire certain targeted low-income groups, which includes people with disabilities and veterans. So the max amount of tax credit for employers who've worked 400 hours or more hours of service is $2,400 or 40% of up to $6,000 for the first year of wages for qualifying individuals, $9,600 or 40% of up to $24,000 of first year wages for certain qualified veterans. A 25% rate applies to wages for individuals who work at least 120 hours, but less than 400 hours for the employer. There's also the architectural transportation tax deduction. This is IRS code 190, barrier removal. Annual deduction of up to $15,000 available to businesses of any size for the cost of removing barriers for people with disabilities. This can include providing accessible parking spaces, ramps, curb cuts, providing wheelchair accessible telephones, water fountains, restrooms, making walkways at least 48 inches wide, and making entrances accessible. Businesses may use the disabled access credit and the architectural tax deduction together in the same tax year if the expenses meet the requirements of both benefits. Next slide, please. So some of the direct benefits of providing an accommodation reported to Jan by employers include 85% of employers reported a retaining a valued employee. They also reported 53% increasing the employee's productivity. 48% of employers reported increasing the employee's attendance. 47% reported eliminating costs associated with training a new employee. And 33% reported increasing the diversity of the company. 23% reported that they saved on workers' compensation or other insurance costs. Some indirect benefits now, 35% reported improved interactions with coworkers, 29% reported increased workplace safety, 29% reported increased overall company morale, 22% reported improved interactions with customers, 20% reported increased overall company productivity, and 18% reported increased overall company attendance. Next slide, please. And so to wrap things up, I like to mention that people with disabilities are one of the largest minority groups in the country. They are the largest untapped pool of potential workers. They are able to participate and succeed in employment with the right opportunities and the right supports. They bring unique skills and talents to the workplace. They help organizations build a strong and diverse pipeline of skilled workers, which is critical for companies to grow their business and compete in the global economy. And they help improve the employer's bottom line by reducing recruiting and training costs while increasing retention rates. Next slide, please. And that is all I have today. I do have some resources here and contact information. I've provided the link here for DRS referrals if you have anyone that may be interested or may benefit from our services. I've provided the phone number for the Waukegan DRS office, which is the office in Lake County. And then I've also included a link there for the Job Accommodation Network, which we discussed today. I have my email, however, I can also include it in the chat. And then I will turn it over to our next presenter, which is going to be Kathleen Wager from the Illinois Department of Employment Security.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wager. I'm the Veterans Business Specialist with the Illinois Department of Employment Security. So my job is to work with employers on behalf of all veterans across Northeastern and Northern Illinois. I've been with IDES now for, oh my goodness, since 2008, and I've been a Veterans Employment Rep for 11 years now. So IDES has their mission statement. The Illinois Department of Employment Security will encourage economic growth and stability in Illinois by providing vital employment services to Illinois residents and employers, analyzing and disseminating actionable labor market information, and administering unemployment insurance programs. So Illinois JobLink. Illinois JobLink is our state labor exchange system. The website with tools to assist job seekers, employers, training providers, and workforce professionals. So employers can post their jobs on Illinois JobLink and searched through thousands of resumes to find qualified candidates. So one of the great things about Illinois Job Link is for the first 48 hours, it is open to veterans. Well, when you post a job, for the first 48 hours, that job is open to veterans only. And after that, it opens up to the general public. It's our way of showing veteran preference. So right now, as of the beginning of this month, the total active jobs in Illinois Job Link was 73,628, and the total active resumes was 64,716, and 3,456 of them being in Lake County. Next slide, please. So IDES has a plethora of labor market information on their website. Between the virtual labor market information site and the fixed documents, you can find the low, median, high wages for all occupational sectors and in any area throughout the state of Illinois. It's everything you've wanted to know and more. Next slide, please. So WorkShare Illinois, this is a program that was put together during COVID to help employers who are facing a decline in business. So it gives them the ability to reduce the number of man hours from 20 to 60% per week without having to completely lay off staff or close their business. So this avoids turnover costs associated with hiring and training new employees in the future when business starts to increase. So employers can do this, use WorkShare for up to a year, and it is upon the employer to do the documentation. And when they reduce the hours, the man hours of each employee from 20 to 60%, IDES will help to supplement some of that cost for the employee so they can still maintain a living wage. So because I'm a veterans business specialist, let's talk about veterans a little bit. So in our program, a veteran is an individual who has served on active duty, not including basic training or advanced training, in the U.S. Armed Forces for more than 180 days, or has been, excuse me, or has been discharged or released from active duty for a service-connected disability rating. So a service-connected disability is an injury that the service member had incurred while in the military. And so acceptable documentation to prove their veteran status would be their DD-214 discharge form or a letter from the Department of Veterans Affairs stating that they have some sort of disability. Next slide, please. Work opportunity tax credits. So work opportunity tax credits, Gianni had mentioned this a little earlier, is a tax credit for the employer for hiring people from certain target groups, and they receive the tax credit based on the number of hours that the person has worked. Next slide, please. So different target groups would be veterans, those collecting SNAP or TANF, those in designated community low empowerment zone, vocational rehabilitation referrals, returning citizens, people collecting SSI, summer youth employees, and those who have exhausted their unemployment benefits. So because I'm a veteran, I am going to tell you that, you know, the tax credit for hiring a veteran is the highest tax credit. If the employer hires a person who has a service-connected disability rating and has been unemployed for at least 6 months during the prior year, does not even have to be consecutive, it's a $9,600 tax credit. However, if they hire a vet that does not self-attest to having a service-connected disability rating, but has been unemployed for 6 months or 4 weeks, it's a $5,600 or $2,400 tax credit. So there's no age restrictions. There's no limit on the number of individuals that you can hire that qualify to claim the tax credit. But employers must fill out 2 forms. an IRS Form 8850, and an ETA Form 9061. And those must be sent to the State Workforce Agency within 28 calendar days. That includes weekends and holidays. Fidelity bonding. Fidelity bonding is like an insurance policy for the employer to protect them against theft, embezzlement, and dishonesty. So say you hire somebody who has poor credit history, limited work history, a dishonorable military discharge, or a returning citizen or substance abuse user. Next slide, please. You can bond that person for from $5,000 up to $25,000 for free for 6 months. Another 6 months can be extended for another 6 months for a minimal fee if bonding is a consideration of employment. And this enables the employer to hire job applicants that are considered to be at risk due to their past life experiences. So the individual must have a job offer and a job start date in order for them to be bonded. Bonding does start day one. So if you wait to bond the person for a month, you've lost that month out of the first 6 months. So you can get more information on these two websites here on our IDES website and the U.S. Department of Labor website. And if you're interested in learning more about IDES's programs, please contact me. My email address and phone number are below. Thank you all very much. And now we'll talk to Lake County Workforce Development. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Sarah Esplund. I'm the apprenticeship specialist with Lake County Workforce Development here. And I'm going to share with you some of the services that we offer with business services. Next slide. All right, so on this slide, you can see 3 different sections. Our business services team consists of myself, a representative for our youth population, age 16 to 24. That's Rob Linderman, a manufacturing account executive, Omar Ramirez, and then our lead, Jeff Hubert. Right now, we are governed still by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So all of our services are free to employers and free to job seekers. We really do try to help everyone who comes through the door, and that includes people with disabilities. So if we look to the left, we can see our workforce solutions. This is an area where we strive to help businesses in our community with all of their employment needs. We can post open positions on our Hire Lake County page. We can help with job fairs, both with planning and facilitation the day of the event. We do create certain plans if people need help with job descriptions or employment plans, and a lot of labor market information is shared. Kathleen talked about the Illinois site, and there's additional sites that we use as well to make sure employers are competitive with their wages and really understand what it is that other employers in the area are paying individuals. In the middle, you see that workforce training section. This is where we can help both employers and job seekers with some federal funding through WIOA. Our incumbent worker training program helps employers upskill current employees. So we can pay for the training for employees at your company when we create a contract up to 90% of the training cost. So this could be, for example, a new machine is purchased and staff on your manufacturing line need to understand how to use that new machine. You bring in a facilitator or someone from the company that built the machine to train them, and we can help offset those training costs. In the middle, we'll see our work experience and internship. These are our learn and earn programs where individuals who qualify for the WIOA program can get connected to an employer and be paid to work at that work site. We generally have contracts for about 5 months, and we'll cover 100% of the wages while they learn that new job at the host site. One of the qualifiers to be eligible in WIOA is to identify as a person with a disability. And then the third one there you see is the on-the-job training. So this is our Hire First initiative, and it's when an employer offers an individual a job, and we find them eligible prior to hire. We build up a contract, and it states that we can help offset that training cost up to 75% of their wages for up to 6 months. So if an employer finds someone that they want to hire, but maybe needs a little bit of help with that initial cost of wages, we are definitely there with those WIOA funds to support. And then on the right, you see that workforce ecosystem. This is all of us on this phone call today, everyone in our partner relationship. We have so many. Everyone presenting today, DRS, our veterans assistance, IDES, but we also work very closely with the College of Lake County and nonprofits and community-based organizations. So when an employer asks a question or a job seeker has a need that isn't a service that we provide, we often reach out to that network and we can find those answers for you. So we are very happy to service all individuals at the Job Center. The business service team is part of the Job Center in Waukegan. But I just wanted to share a little story. When Gianni talked so much about the JAN network, it really reminded me of a situation I had where I was able to use the JAN network that I want to share with you. It was another state I was working in for another job center, and I had an employer reach out who was interested in hiring an individual with a disability who used a wheelchair. The position required driving it's kind of like a golf cart around a forest preserve, and they had to do various tasks, but to get to all the tasks, they had to utilize that vehicle. And this individual couldn't operate the vehicle, and they reached out to see if there were any modifications or things that I knew, and I didn't have any answers right away, but I did know about Jan. And when I connected with them initially, and then the employer connected, it ultimately ended up in them being able to purchase I forget the name of the specific thing, but there were hand tools that were attached to the steering wheel that acted as the pedals. So he was able to fully operate the golf cart. He got hired before they had all the accommodations done and did other things, but it was just amazing for me to see this opportunity for someone open up and really be his dream job when all they had to do was get connected with Jan, and Jan found all the resources for them, and it was just a really great experience. So I highly recommend reaching out to them as an individual or an employer for research for yourself. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So next slide. Jeff Hubert, as I said, is our project lead. So if you do have any questions for business services, feel free to reach out to him and we will be in touch. I'm going to pass it on now to Ed Gallagher with PACE.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ed Gallagher. I'm the Community Relations Representative with PACE Suburban Bus. I'm also honored to serve on the Lake County Workforce Development Board. So for today's conversation, I'm going to be talking about PACE's family of services. So next slide, please. Thank you. PACE's family of services. So PACE is the public transit agency for suburban bus here in Northeastern Illinois. We are the suburban bus division of the RTA. So we work together with our partners at Metra and the CTA to provide all of the public transit here in the Chicagoland area. PACE has a lot of different services that we include under that title family of services. So we've got our fixed bus routes. Those are the buses, the large, big blue buses that you can see on our screen. They go the same streets at the same times every single day of the week and potentially on Saturdays and Sundays, depending on the routes. You can set your watch to them and you can see them moving through our communities. The second item I'll be discussing is our community transit. So those are our paratransit vehicles, the white vehicles on the screen at the top right corner that assist individuals in individual communities. We partner with different community agencies to provide some of these services. And then our van pool program, which is our employment-based service for individuals to get to and from work. They can carpool with their coworkers to help save on their personal costs, as well as reduce the need for individual vehicles to travel to and from the workplace. So the next slide, please. We'll dig into our fixed bus routes. PACE here in Lake County. So we've got this big map on the screen. If it's a little bit small on your screen, you can take a look at pacebus.com to see this map in person. But we have 21 fixed bus routes here in Lake County. You'll see on the screen in blue, those individual blue lines are each one of those bus routes. They're the ones going, again, the same streets, the same times, every single day. All of those vehicles are completely accessible. So the big blue buses have wheelchair ramps. We have priority seating at the front of all of our buses for individuals with disabilities and seniors. We also have bike racks on the front of those big blue buses that are moving through the community to help people with that last mile commute. There's reduced cost programs for individuals who want to ride our buses. So currently the fare is $2 with a Ventra card. Individuals with disabilities can get a reduced fare, so they would pay $1 with a Ventra card or $1.10 with cash. We also have alternative types of services. We call them on-demands. So on the screen, you're seeing a purplish red hue in the Round Lake area, as well as the green hue in the Vernon Hills Mundelein area. So our on-demand services, they used to be called call and ride. They're now on demand. They're a general public dial-a-ride. So every person on this call today has the ability to call and book in advance a trip curb to curb within both of those zones. So if anyone is joining us from the Round Lake area or potentially over visiting CLC, you could potentially order a vehicle to come pick you up at the CLC campus and take you to Walmart or Meijer in the Round Lake area. So that's called on demand. We recently expanded to allow for some alternative ways to book. I'll mention that in a few slides. But these are our services for the general public, and they're all accessible. The on-demand vehicles even have wheelchair lifts built into them. So we encourage individuals of all abilities to take public transit here in Lake County. Next slide for me. In the last 2 years, PACE has done some exciting pilot programs. So first, our mobility as a service transit app. If there's one slide from today's presentation that everyone kind of remembers moving forward, it's this slide. So our transit app contract that we worked with this international company called Transit. You can download the free mobile app in your Google Play Store, on your Apple App Store, or if you have another type of phone, hopefully in their app store. But the Transit app is a official trip planning tool for all of PACE's family of services. That includes our on-demands, our Van Goes, our fixed bus routes. You can load on your phone to look and see what buses are in your area. So I have a little graphic on the screen. That's what Transit looks like when you load it on your phone. But you can put in your home, you just open your phone and put in the location you got to get to, and it shows you all the interactive ways that you can take PACE, that you can take Metra, or if you're close to the Lake County border of Cook County, how you can take the CTA as well to get to where you need to go. All of our services interact together. So you'll see on your app how to take a PACE bus to a Metro train to a CTA train or bus to get to your final destination. Or here in Lake County, how you can take a PACE bus to the on-demand region and then get dropped off at the curb of the location you're going to. So all of our services are being integrated into the Transit app. So I recommend everyone on the call take a closer look at Transit and that Transit app, because it can help you get where you need to go. And there's no payment information taken through Transit. So all you need is an email to register and download it onto your phone. It won't ask you for any payment information. Next, for our ADA paratransit customers, just last year in our budget, we announced free fare on all PACE fixed bus route for ADA certified paratransit users. So if you've gone through the RTA's reduced fare card, RTA or ADA certification process, and you have that reduced fare card with ADA written on it, you can now ride for free on all of PACE's fixed bus route services. So you just have to show your card, flash it to the driver, and they'll have you take your seat. So take a closer look at the RTA certification process if you have a disability that you think might qualify you under the ADA, and you might be able to get access to free fixed bus routes here in Lake County. Lastly, also for those ADA paratransit riders, if you've gone through that ADA certification process, you now have an additional option that was just launched in March of last year. We're not even a full year into this new program. It's called the Ride Share Access Program, or RAP. We have modeled this program off of our Taxi Access program that has been operating in the city of Chicago for many years. It's an alternative to our Dial-A-Ride ADA services that currently you call the day before, 24 hours in advance, to schedule your trips. We are now partnering with Uber and Userve, our transit network companies, to provide additional options for individuals with ADA certifications to take their needed trips within our ADA region. So you now have the opportunity to opt in to RAP if you're an ADA certified rider, and you can get up to a $30 subsidy on TNC services. So the fare is a $2 fare. You pay a $2 fare and then get up to 28 additional dollars on PACE. So that's a full $30 of transit value to utilize a TNC service, same day service for you to utilize within our community and within the ADA region. For more information on all three of these programs, please take a closer look at PACE's website. We've got some information on how to go through the certification process, as well as how to get registered for RAP. Pacebus.com is the main website. And then you've got the / for RAP, or for our transit app, it's just transit-app. So you can take a closer look at PACE's website for those services. Next slide for me, please. Perfect. Then our community transit. So I gave a little bit of an intro to this at the beginning. Our on-demand services are considered our community transit. So these are our alternative services, generally dial-a-ride type programs. They have some might have specific eligible riders, some may be for the general public. It all depends on how PACE is contracted with local communities to launch these services. Our publicly available programs, so again, everyone on the call has the ability to utilize our on-demand services. These operate in the Round Lake area all the way out to Fox Lake, as well as in the Vernon Hills Mundelein area. They're really great for those last mile connections from the area metro stations in those communities, as well as just a point-to-point or curb-to-curb service from our local community college, our College of Lake County, the Grays Lake campus, as well as the South Lake campus down in Vernon Hills. Both of those campuses are served by this, as well as multiple employers. So if you are taking a Metro or a PACE bus into those areas, you now have the opportunity for a curb-to-curb drop-off to area employers and utilize resources within those communities. Take a closer look at the on-demand services, as well as our Ride Lake County program. So this is a county-wide dial-a-ride program. This specifically has a focus for individuals with disabilities, as well as individuals over the age of 60. So if you're over 60, you can get registered with us fairly quickly by giving us your age and date of birth, and you'll call into the call center to take care of that. If you're under 60 but have a disability, you need to first register for the RTA's reduced fare card. That is the RTA's reduced fare card. It grants you the access for that reduced ride that I mentioned, that dollar ride on Pace buses or the half price ride on Metras. Once you get that fare card in the mail, you just got to call and give us the number and we'll get you coordinated. But that dial-a-ride for Ride Lake County is a curb-to-curb service in the entirety of Lake County. Every single community of Lake County has access to this program. And I must thank our Lake County partners. So the Lake County Board, as well as the Department of Transportation. Without their funding and their partnership in this program, we wouldn't have this amazing program for our seniors and those with disabilities in the community. You book your trips multiple days in advance. You coordinate with our services, our call center, to get that negotiated pickup time. We work with you to get to the final destination. The cost is currently a $2, $4, or $6 cost, and it's based on distance. Hopefully we've got people on the call who've utilized it and heard about it, but if you haven't, please take a closer look at both of these community-based programs that are accessible in our community. Next slide, please. I've got a little bit more detail on the on-demand. So I mentioned we've got some alternative booking now. Just last year, we now launched through the Transit app booking on phones. So if anyone is over at CLC, either campus, at the CLC campus in Grays Lake or down at the South Lake campus today, you can utilize this. Load your phone open to our on-demand app. That's Pace On Demand. There's a little graphic on the screen. And you can book a trip from both of those campuses into the geographic regions that are on the map today. That cost is, again, $2 for a ride for the general public. If you're a senior or have an individual with disability or an active military member, you can get the reduced fare for $1. Again, utilizing Ventra to get that reduced fare. Otherwise, you'll have to pay an additional like 10 cents for that, or 25 cents if you're a general public member paying with cash. But it's a pre-reservation service operating every weekday, 6 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. The website for this one is pacebus.com/on-demand. Or you can go to pacebus.com and just type in on demand and it'll take you to the main page to learn more about this. But again, accessing the Transit app, that one-stop shop for all of Pace's resources, can get you this information without even being aware of on demand. If you're at any of the locations in this region, load that Transit app and it'll say, would you like to use the on-demand service? You can click through it. It'll give you some information on how to access that and how to book a trip, potentially curb to curb, to your final destination. Next slide for me, please. And my last slide here is for our area employers and individuals looking for employment. So our van pool programs are commuter services for individuals who need commuter services to work within our region. These are our multi-use vehicles. We provide them to employees. So they're employee-led programs where individuals get to coordinate with their fellow employees how to utilize a vehicle from PACE. So it's a federally funded vehicle that we provide to employees to coordinate their trips within the geographic region. They can be coming from, you can be living in Wisconsin and work here in Lake County, or you can live here in Lake County and work in Wisconsin or in Indiana. We've got people utilizing this program to go to all of those states and locations that I just mentioned. But it's a minivan, provides up to 7 passengers. PACE covers the cost of fuel, maintenance, roadside assistance, and the insurance costs. The employees pay a small monthly fare to access and be a rider or passenger in this vehicle. The driver gets to keep the vehicle overnight, and on the weekends, they can use it for some personal use. They bank some mileage over time. And then the driver, in exchange, can utilize the program for free. So they get to use the vehicle for free because they're coordinating the pickups of all their employees that are a part of the program to get to and from their location. To start one of these programs, you only need 3 to 4 individuals to get started. Open to talking to any of our area employers about these accessible programs. Lastly is the Van Go program. Van Go is a last mile service that we've set up as a reservation-based service for commutes from metro stations here in Lake County. The current Van Go's are in the Lake Forest East Metro Station, so the one close to downtown there in Lake Forest, and the other is at the Lake Cook Road Metro Station in Deerfield. Individuals can go through our complete online process to get registered, book with our system, and then they can drive this vehicle from the metro station to their area of employment. We have designated zones that they can travel to, so take a closer look at PaceBus .com/Van Gogh to see more about where those zones are and what area employers might be able to take advantage of these accessible programs. Again, it is only $5 for the Van Gogh program per day for individuals. That's a $2.50 travel to and a $2.50 travel back to the metro station. So a $5 total use for a single day. You only got to be 21. You go through an online process to get registered to utilize that vehicle. And then I think we're running a little long, so I'm gonna ask that we skip the video, but we do have a nice video on the on-demand service. We have some great Lake County residents who gave up some of their time to come talk about how this program has benefited them. They travel from Zion and Beach Park down to Lake Forest to pick up this vehicle almost daily to get out to their area of employment. So if you have time, visit PACE's YouTube page, and I think the link could be shared via the email after our meeting. And then I'll just skip back to my end. So we've got my contact information here at the end. But again, Ed Gallagher, this is my direct email and my work cell phone number, open to talking to area employers, individuals about any of these types of programs and how they might be able to be utilized by your employees or for you to get around the community to where you need to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Great information. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you want to learn more about information about the Job Center of Lake County, you can visit our social media site. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Feel free to view information at Job Center of Lake County IL. Like, subscribe, and share information and learn more about job search advice and calendar events. Also, this is our beautiful brown building on First North Genesee Street, downtown in Waukegan. You can visit us right there on the corner of Genesee and Washington. Our website is located at lakecountyjobcenter.com. Keep in mind that if you go to our website, if you're not already subscribed to our Career Solutions monthly e-blast, you can go ahead and enter your email there on that main page and subscribe to receive our newsletter. Our phone number is listed there. This building is typically open to the public from 8:30 to 12, Monday through Friday. We close for an hour from 12 to 1, and then from 1 to 4, we're back open. So continue to visit our website to learn more about our hours. I will turn it over to Eva shortly, but just to share, once you visit the Job Center of Lake County, just keep in mind we do have accommodations equipment available to individuals who visit the Job Center of Lake County. We do have an accommodations workstation where individuals can access a computer with a large 24-inch monitor on an adjustable table. Also, we have access to a trackball mouse for those individuals with limited hand mobility. Also screen reading software and a CCTV text magnifier. So if you get an opportunity, visit our website and you'll see our virtual video tour of the Job Center to learn more about our accommodations work center. I'll turn it over to Eva and we'll open it up for questions. Thank you for joining.
I just want to thank all of our guest speakers. We've run this particular workshop for several years, and each time I learned something new. I have a resolution after this one to visit the Job Accommodation Network and the Pace Bus website. Exciting information. Does anyone have any questions? This is the time when we welcome you to either unmute and ask your question, or you can type your question in the chat. That could be a question for any of our speakers.